Catherine was not supposed to hear this. But according to reports now quietly circulating, King Charles has made a private decision that could change her position inside the monarchy forever. And it may directly impact Queen Camilla in a way the palace never intended. If this is true, then why would Charles risk creating tension between Catherine and Camilla at such a critical moment for the royal family? Before we get into what King Charles actually decided, before we break down why Catherine was reportedly caught off guard, and before we even touch the question of how this could affect Queen Camilla, there is something much deeper you need to understand about how decisions are really made inside the royal family. Because unlike what the public sees, these moments are never sudden, never emotional, and almost never accidental. They are built quietly over time, shaped behind closed doors, and revealed only when the timing can no longer be controlled. But if everything inside the palace is so carefully planned, then how does a decision like this still manage to surprise someone as central as Catherine? The monarchy operates on a system that values stability above all else, where every move is calculated not just for today, but for decades into the future. Conversations happen long before they are ever visible, roles are defined long before they are announced, and influence is often exercised without a single public word being spoken, which raises a more important question. If Catherine truly did not expect this decision, does that mean something has shifted behind the scenes that even she was not fully aware of? King Charles III is not a man who makes impulsive decisions, and that is something people often underestimate about him. He spent more than 7 decades preparing for a role that very few in history have had to wait so long to assume, watching the monarchy evolve from the inside while learning exactly what strengthens it and what quietly weakens it over time. He has lived through constitutional pressures, public backlash, family divisions, and moments where even the stability of the crown itself seemed uncertain. So when a man with that level of experience makes a private decision, can it ever really be random? Unlike many assume, Charles has always been deeply involved in the mechanics of the institution. From his early years as Prince of Wales, he built networks, supported causes, and paid close attention to how public perception shapes royal survival. He watched his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, manage crises with silence and discipline, and he also witnessed how quickly public trust can shift when the wrong signals are sent. That kind of exposure does something to a person. It forces them to think not just as a father or a husband, but as a strategist responsible for something much larger than themselves. So if he is now acting in a way that has surprised even those closest to him, could it be because he is prioritizing the future of the monarchy over personal relationships? Now as king, every choice he makes carries weight far beyond the moment. He is not just managing the present. He is shaping the transition to the next generation, deciding who will carry the institution forward when he no longer can. And in a system where nothing is ever said without purpose, even the smallest shift in attention, trust, or responsibility can signal a much bigger intention, which leads to a question that cannot be ignored. If Charles has quietly made a decision that places Catherine at the center of something important, does that mean he has already chosen who he believes the future truly belongs to? And at the center of this unfolding story is Catherine, a woman whose journey into the royal family has never been as effortless as it may appear from the outside. Long before she became the Princess of Wales, she was navigating a world filled with intense scrutiny, constant judgment, and expectations that would have overwhelmed almost anyone else. Every appearance, every gesture, every silence was analyzed. And yet she remained composed, measured, and remarkably consistent in a role that offers very little room for error. But how does someone carry that level of pressure for years without it eventually taking a personal toll? What the public saw only recently, however, revealed a much more human side of her story. Her battle with illness was not just a private struggle. It became a moment that quietly reshaped how people viewed her. There was no dramatic announcement, no attempt to control the narrative beyond what was necessary. Just a calm, steady presence that spoke more powerfully than any statement ever could. In that moment, she was no longer just a royal figure. She became someone people could genuinely relate to. So when a person who has gone through something that's serious returns to public life with the same grace and discipline, does it change how those inside the palace begin to see her role? And perhaps that is where the emotional weight of this situation truly lies. Because if King Charles has made a decision that places Catherine in a more significant position behind the scenes, it may not just be about protocol or tradition. It could be about trust, resilience, and the quiet strength she has demonstrated when it mattered most. Which raises a deeper question. Has Catherine, through everything she has faced, proven something that the monarchy simply cannot afford to overlook anymore? To understand why any decision involving Catherine carries this much weight, you have to step back and look at how the monarchy has historically handled moments of transition. Because this is not the first time the royal family has faced uncertainty about its future, and it has rarely been resolved in a simple or predictable way. From the abdication crisis of abdication of Edward VIII to the long, carefully managed reign of Queen Elizabeth II, every major shift has forced the institution to adapt while maintaining the illusion of continuity. But if history shows anything, it is that the most important changes are often the ones the public does not fully understand until much later. So could this moment be another one of those turning points? When Elizabeth took the throne, the monarchy was rebuilding trust in a post-war world, relying heavily on discipline, restraint, and a clear sense of duty. Her approach created a model that lasted for decades, one where personal emotion was rarely visible and the institution always came first. But over time, that model began to face new challenges, especially during periods like the 1990s, when public perception shifted dramatically and the royal family was forced to confront a more media-driven world. That era reshaped how future royals would need to present themselves, but did it also create pressure for a more relatable and human figure at the center of the monarchy? Now, as King Charles leads the institution in a completely different era, those historical lessons matter more than ever. The monarchy is no longer protected by distance or tradition alone. It is constantly being evaluated in real time by a global audience. Every decision, every alignment, every signal is interpreted as part of a larger strategy for survival. So if Charles is now making a move that appears to elevate Catherine in a way that echoes past transitions, could it be because history has shown him exactly what kind of figure the monarchy needs in order to endure? But the moment Catherine is placed closer to the center of any decision, it inevitably creates tension with one other figure, Queen Camilla. Because her position is not symbolic, it is constitutional, visible, and hard-earned after decades of public scrutiny and resistance. She did not arrive at this role easily. She fought for acceptance, rebuilt her image step by step, and ultimately secured her place beside King Charles in a way few believed was possible. So if a shift is now happening that appears to elevate Catherine in a more meaningful way, does that unintentionally challenge the balance Camilla has spent years establishing? The complexity here is not about personal rivalry, it is about structure. In the traditional hierarchy, the Queen Consort holds immediate precedence, while the Princess of Wales represents the future. Those roles are meant to exist side by side without conflict, but only as long as the lines between present authority and future influence remain clear. If those lines begin to blur, even slightly, the entire dynamic starts to change. So if Catherine is being trusted with something that feels unusually significant at this stage, could that signal a quiet shift in where real influence is beginning to move? And in the royal world, when words are limited, symbolism begins to speak, often far more clearly than any official statement ever could. The monarchy has always relied on visual signals to communicate what it cannot openly say, whether through carefully chosen appearances, seating arrangements, or even the smallest details of presentation. When Catherine stands beside King Charles at key moments, when she is given visibility during events that carry long-term significance, those are not casual decisions. They are deliberate placements designed to send a message without ever confirming it. So if these moments keep repeating in subtle ways, are they quietly revealing a shift that the palace is not ready to explain out loud? Even the timing of appearances begins to matter when viewed through this lens. Who attends which event, who is seen interacting with whom, and who is positioned closest to the center of attention can all indicate where influence is being directed. There have been instances where Catherine's presence has aligned closely with moments of institutional importance, while other senior figures have remained less visible in those same contexts. In a system where nothing is accidental, these patterns begin to form a narrative of their own. But if symbolism is being used to guide public perception, does that mean the real decision has already been made behind the scenes? Because historically, the monarchy has always prepared the public gradually rather than suddenly. It introduces change in ways that feel natural over time, allowing people to adjust without ever feeling like something dramatic has happened. If Catherine is now being placed more prominently through these symbolic signals, it may not be about a single decision at all. It may be part of a much larger transition already in motion. Which raises one final question. Are we simply watching carefully staged moments, or are we witnessing the quiet confirmation of who the monarchy is truly moving toward next? What makes this moment even more significant is not just the individuals involved, it is what this could mean for the future of the monarchy itself. Because for the first time in decades, the institution is facing a level of uncertainty it can no longer ignore. Public opinion is shifting, younger generations are questioning its relevance, and the traditional model that sustained it for so long is no longer guaranteed to work in the same way. This is not just about roles or titles anymore, it is about survival in a world that demands connection, authenticity, and purpose. So if King Charles is making decisions with Catherine at the centre, could it be because he sees her as essential to keeping the monarchy relevant in the years ahead? The pressure on the crown today is very different from what previous generations experienced. It is no longer enough to represent tradition. It must also justify its existence to an audience that is constantly watching, analysing, and forming opinions in real time. Every public appearance, every message, every shift in responsibility becomes part of a larger narrative about whether the monarchy still has a place in modern society. And in that environment, the choice of who carries the institution forward becomes one of the most important decisions any monarch can make. So if Catherine represents a more relatable, grounded, and widely supported figure, does that make her the natural answer to a problem the monarchy has been trying to solve for years? Because ultimately, this is not just about Catherine or Camilla, it is about what the monarchy chooses to become next. Whether it leans into continuity or embraces transformation will define how it is perceived for generations to come. And if the signals we are seeing are pointing toward a future shaped more heavily around Catherine's role, then this decision could mark the beginning of a much larger shift than anyone is openly acknowledging. Which leads to a final thought that cannot be ignored. Are we witnessing a simple internal adjustment, or the early stages of a complete redefinition of the monarchy's future? And yet, even with all these signals, all the analysis, and all the quiet speculation, there is still no clear confirmation of what King Charles has actually decided. The palace has not issued any statement, no official announcement has been made, and no one inside the institution is openly confirming the rumours that are now spreading beyond its walls. Everything remains exactly where the monarchy prefers it, unspoken, controlled, and carefully contained. So if a decision this significant has truly been made, why is it still hidden behind silence instead of being acknowledged openly? Catherine continues her public duties with the same composure she has always shown, moving through her role with precision and calm, as if nothing unusual is happening behind the scenes. Camilla continues to carry out her responsibilities as Queen Consort, maintaining her presence at the centre of royal engagements, fulfilling the role that has been formally established for her. And King Charles remains exactly as he has always been, measured, deliberate, and entirely unreadable when it comes to matters that truly matter. But if everything appears unchanged on the surface, does that mean nothing has actually changed? Or is this exactly how the monarchy reveals its most important decisions? Because within this institution, the absence of a clear answer is often just as important as a confirmation. Silence can protect a decision, delay its impact, or allow it to settle naturally into place without disruption. And when you look closely, it becomes difficult to tell whether we are witnessing a moment of stability or the quiet beginning of something that has already been set in motion. So the question remains, without any certainty to hold on to, has anything truly changed yet, or are we simply standing at the edge of a decision that the palace has chosen not to reveal? And that is where the story stands right now, in a space where answers are not given, only suggested. If King Charles has truly made a private decision involving Catherine, then what does that mean for the balance of power inside the monarchy moving forward? And if Queen Camilla remains in her established role, how does that decision coexist with the responsibilities she has already taken on? These are not simple questions, they are the kind that define the direction of an entire institution. Because every signal, every appearance, and every moment we have examined could either be part of a carefully controlled strategy, or simply the natural flow of a monarchy that continues to evolve in its own time. So how do we distinguish between what is intentional and what is coincidence? And more importantly, who is actually shaping the future behind the scenes? If Catherine is being positioned more prominently, does that reflect confidence in her ability to carry the monarchy forward? Or is it simply a reflection of her current popularity with the public? And when it comes to Camilla, does her established role as Queen Consort secure her influence in the present? Or could the long-term vision of the monarchy be pointing in a different direction? At the end of the day, the real question is not just what King Charles may have decided, but what those decisions mean for the future of the crown itself. Because this is not just about individuals, it is about legacy, continuity, and survival. And so we are left with one final thought. If the monarchy is quietly preparing for its next chapter, then who, in your opinion, is truly being positioned to lead it?